I would like to concentrate on the Harrods settlement process, or the Harrods compensation scheme, as it has been referred to. I know that some women have been somewhat confused by this title, and some women have interpreted this as being their only route or only option for accountability. So it's important that we are clear about what this process is. And just to be clear, the Harrods settlement process compensation scheme is that it is a Harrods-led and a Harrods-controlled process. What's more, this settlement scheme is just one of three things that Harrods are trying to do concurrently, since they say new information came to light in 2023. According to a BBC article from the 23rd of September, Harrods have confirmed an ongoing internal review supported by external counsel looking at whether any current staff were involved in any of the allegations, either directly or indirectly. Harrods say that this internal review began in 2023. Harrods also say that they are in direct communication with the Metropolitan to offer their assistance with any inquiries, including forwarding police correspondence directly to the people using the settlement scheme. Some of our survivors, I know, have found it quite distressing to receive a letter to them directly from the police, unannounced, particularly when some of them may have actually made their own complaint to the police many years ago. These three streams of activity prompt a series of questions for me and our team. What new information actually came to light in 2023? We still haven't been told this information. Who from Harrods designed and is leading this ongoing internal review? Did anyone who is still within the business from the Al Fayed times recuse themselves from discussion over the design and execution of this review? How is this review going? We haven't had an update. I haven't heard anything about this internal review. Also, was this internal review prompted by the new information that Harrods says came to light? What does the indirect involvement of Harrods staff actually cover and include? For example, does it cover anyone with knowledge of Al Fayed's questioning by police in 2008 after a 15-year-old employed on the shop floor accused him of indecent assault? Does it cover that? In relation to the settlement scheme, who created, who designed, who drafted this scheme and authorised the same? Does it involve anyone who might be subject to this ongoing internal review? Has the Harrods settlement process been signed off by the current leadership and ownership? It is also not known if the settlement scheme that is operating now is the same as the scheme that was in place in the summer of 2023, when we know that survivors started being offered settlements. And it's important to clarify that some of our survivors actually started being offered settlements before Mohammed Al Fayed actually passed away. We as a team have previously voiced our concerns over some of the settlements that have been offered to survivors previously. The current Harrods settlement scheme or compensation scheme, whatever they would like to call it, also appears to be undocumented. We are aware that some survivors have been told by a law firm that is administering the scheme that the FAQs are still being drafted. If this is the same scheme, why was everything not documented when it was created in 2023? On the 21st of October, the Financial Times, Susie Ring and Laura Anita, published a detailed piece on the compensation scheme, having investigated and spoken to 4 survivors themselves. For clarity, we represent 3 of these women. 1 survivor is represented by other lawyers. The key features of this article and the facts reported were as follows. All 4 women have stopped using the Harrods' own settlement scheme due to concerns that they had. 2 of the women felt that Harrods had not been transparent about the individuals who was handling and dealing with their complaints. The allegation made was that the individual handling the complaints had been stated as being an external consultant, but it transpired that this individual had previously worked for Harrods for over a decade, both on the shop floor and in the Human Resources Department, until the summer of 2023, when this individual then became an external consultant, who was, at that point, then tasked with the job of investigating survivors' allegations. Harrods have denied that they have not been transparent and said that this individual is indeed the correct person to be handling their process. As always, I have some questions that arise from this. Is this person, this individual, subject to or part of the ongoing internal review given their long employment history within Harrods? Or does this person fall outside the scope of that review, as this person was not employed by Harrods in the summer of 2023? Does this individual reveal their long employment history with Harrods stretching back to the Al-Fayed times when they speak to the survivors? Concerns raised by some of the survivors that we represent is an allegation that this individual now only uses their first name on their signature of email. Some survivors have found this slightly odd, particularly when many of them are very frightened and have concerns over their personal safety. There is also an allegation that one survivor was invited to attend a Teams call to discuss her allegations of abuse with this individual. This call lasted a long time and involved the woman being questioned in great detail about her allegations, to the extent that the survivor felt that she was effectively being cross-examined. This required her to, of course, relive a lot of her trauma. This was something that she hadn't been prepared for. She didn't know, but that was the process and that was what was going to happen to her. And she called me after this had happened the following day, saying that she was very upset with herself that she had allowed that to happen, because she simply had no idea that that was going to take place in the way that it did. I emphasised in the Financial Times article that any settlement process in place needs to be both independent and transparent. It is not known, as it does not appear to be documented, if these women and survivors are having or have been offered the benefit of independent expert evidence to support their claims before any settlement offers are being made, and this is key. For instance, access to expert evidence to opine on their prognosis, causation, the impact the abuse and suffering has had on their lives for many, many years. For many survivors, the abuse and the suffering is very complex indeed. Harrods have previously stated publicly that any settlement process was designed to ensure swift and impartial outcomes. I have to say that many of the survivors that we represent, or almost all of them, do not necessarily want a swift outcome. They want and they deserve a proper outcome, with all the evidence having been gathered and with access to all independent expert evidence that they would be entitled to support the quantification of their claims. I and the team will continue to work to ensure that any settlement process dealing with the survivors is, where necessary, scrutinised and held to account.
Thank you, Maria.